Umbrella Corps was developed by Capcom, releasing onto Steam and PS4 on the 21st of June 2016 to coincide with the franchise's 20th anniversary. What was supposed to be a celebration for the fans came off as a punch right to the dick. The game currently sits at a Metacritic of 38 and a user score of 2.4, and I can see why. 20 years worth of history with the franchise, and you'd expect them to bring back the classic games onto modern consoles, or announce a remake to rival RE1. But no, they decided to give us a tactical shooter. Just think on that for a second. The game series that historically began as survival horror, with its limited ammunition, a sense of dread and foreboding, and you celebrate that with a third-person shooter game? It'd be like celebrating your 20th wedding anniversary, but instead of a party surrounded by family and friends, you take your wife to a gangbang. It just shouldn't happen. Now, my experience with this game is non-existent. Following Operation Raccoon City and Resident Evil 6, I had left Resident Evil behind. This series had moved in directions that just wasn't for me, and I sure as hell wasn't going to waste my money on a game that looked like everything I hated about modern Resident Evil. Flash forward to now, and I've been on a journey through every Resident Evil game in the mainline and spin-off series. I've had games which I thought I'd hate turn out to be really enjoyable. I've had games at one time that I thought were fantastic turn out to be middling. So this review, I sat down to experience Umbrella Corps and give you my honest opinion on how the game fares 6 years later. As usual, I'll split this review into plot, gameplay and presentation. Now let's dive in. To make this abundantly clear from the outset, Umbrella Corps is meant to be a multiplayer experience first and foremost, where you and two teammates engage in 3v3 combat against a rival team. The backdrop to these battles are set after Resident Evil 6 and the downfall of Neo Umbrella. The idea being that rival companies are fighting between themselves to steal any and all tech from the fallen Umbrella Corporation in an attempt to secure themselves as a leading bioweapons manufacturer, and they do this by securing research, virus samples or vaccines. Now, as they don't want to get their hands dirty, these companies hire mercs to do the dirty work for them, and that's where we, the player, come in. It is a thin backdrop, but don't worry, the game expands on this with the single player mode called the Experiment. This mode puts the game offline and gives the player 24 stages to clear, and really, this is only there as a way to experience the different online game modes but in a single player setting. Most of them are just go here and hold a location, or go around the map collecting multiple samples. They're all just takes on classic game modes we've seen hundreds of times before. Each stage begins with a tiny bit of text from the commander asking you to test certain equipment or recover samples from different sites, and upon completing a test, you're then given a bit more text to read. It's fucking lame. The overarching plot, if you can call it that, is a merc testing gear. His commanders do the typical Resident Evil bad guy thing of trying to kill their staff. The merc overcomes these odds, and the commanders get scared of him. And then it ends.
You serious?
There's no cutscenes, no cameos to other characters other than hinting that Wesker is alive. There's no tie-ins to a wider story. It's completely faceless, devoid of any performance, care, or character. Text documents in Resident Evil are part and parcel of the series. You can count on them to expand the lore or give key characters background to be able to experience events that shaped the character or the environment without you seeing it with your own eyes. But here, the text just exists. It doesn't drive anything onwards. It doesn't create any stakes. It's just there. It feels completely half-arsed. What makes it worse is this game is classed as canon.
What?
Now, how can you be classed as canon when you've got nothing to say? It'd be like getting Village DLC, but it's just Chris taking a dump before the mission starts. It's a textbook example of a company stating something to try and legitimize its product, to hopefully increase sales, when really, it adds nothing to that established lore. Umbrella Corps is predominantly a 3v3 third-person tactical shooter. Think of it as a spiritual successor to Operation Raccoon City, except without the plot or character. What it lacks in these disciplines, it makes up for in movement and options. I complained in my Operation Raccoon City review at how rigid the cover system was. While here, you can leap over cover, you can run up walls, you can lift barricades, you can even charge a flaming hammer and bash a zombie into the next dimension. The game gives you tons of options to do what you want to do in its environments, and they are all communicated to us, the player, with a really nice UI. It didn't take more than the tutorial level to feel like I'd mastered all the tools at my disposal, and that's a testament to how well these features are communicated to us, the player. Now when you feel ready to take on the battle-hardened vets of Umbrella Corps, there's 3 different modes you can experience. One life mode is as it states. You got 1 life per round to wipe out the enemy team or accomplish objectives to win, setting up for some tense moment-to-moment gameplay as you seek to complete your tasks, while your down teammates spur you on from a top-down perspective, giving you a tactical advantage. Multi-mission puts you in multiple modes in one lobby, with respawns on. The modes in question are Target Hunter, Domination, DNA Hunter, SP DNA Hunter, Protector, Collector, and Collar War. Now I'd love to tell you what any of these modes are like, but this was my experience playing in 2022.
I can do this all day.
After what seemed like an eternity, I had 1 game of 1 life mode, and this turned out to be a goddamn boost in lobby, so the teammates didn't actually want to play. I then rejoined the queue, and after multiple 30-minute waits, I found 1 other player. Just 1. At this point, I started doing some digging, and it turns out a month after release, Umbrella Corps was down to around 100 concurrent players on Steam. Now these days, it averages 2. 2 players per month. Now I've played it via the PS4 version, and it's a similar story. So how is it that Operation Raccoon City, which is 10 years old and on older hardware, is still so active, while Umbrella Corps is a total ghost town?
You're standing there, you're screwing me, and you're fucking useless.
So to try and salvage something for this review, I reached out to my fellow podcast host Spencer and got him to download the game. At least we could then try out the 4 Survivors mode. 4 Survivors is a 4-way survival game. Each second that passes, you earn points. You gain extra points for killing other players, and when you die, your accumulated points can be picked up to add to another player's stash. The person with the most points at the end of the timer wins. Easy enough to understand, right? What makes this mode interesting is you can bank the points you've currently got saved up. To do this, you need to find an ink ribbon around the environment and then visit a typewriter to deposit them. This takes time to do, leaving you vulnerable. Your rival players are informed whenever someone picks up an ink ribbon, signaling them to stand guard near a typewriter. Now unlike other modes, here the BOWs are aggroed, so it's not just the other players you need to worry about. And to further complicate matters, you have limited ammunition. It makes each encounter a tactical one. If I shoot, I'll give away my position, but if I don't, I have nowhere to run to if a firefight goes wrong, as a horde of zombies are on my arse. And to my surprise, it's actually really fun. The tactics we built up playing this in a 1v1 setting were constantly evolving. The feeling of running for your life to try and hide while the clock ticks down for the final 30 seconds, and then getting all your points stolen by the other player right on the last moment, is tension incarnate. We were both shocked at just how good this mode is. We did eventually find 1 other player and did a 3-way match, and this changed the tactics you needed to utilize. I wish I had the chance to play this with 4 players, as I imagine it'll become even more chaotic. And I suppose that same thought sums up playing Umbrella Corps in 2022. It's a dead game. there's literally no one here. And for as fun as 4 Survivors is, the game can't hang on that when there's essentially no single player or PvE content to supplement the experience. I can't write about something that I literally can't experience. And unfortunately, Umbrella Corps didn't do anything new to stand itself out from the competition around its launch, and doesn't give enough back to the RE community to consider itself as a celebration of what came before. And as such, it failed to foster a long-term player base. Umbrella Corps launched in 2016. For the time, it looks passable. When you compare it to its peers that came out at this time, it's very unappealing. The cramped locations and average map design do little to set this game apart from similar games we had a generation earlier. The only saving grace here is the use of classic locations. The maps for the various modes are callbacks to older games in the series, and I have to admit, I was impressed to see locations from Resident Evil 1 right through to RE6 being represented here. Umbrella Corps wisely pushes on the nostalgia button to put familiar enemies in their correct locations, and this is the one area of the game that actually makes it feel like it belongs in the series. But outside of seeing these environments and newer graphics, there isn't anything particularly special about them. They serve their purpose, but there isn't any gameplay functionality to bring these maps to life outside of hiding under the dining table in the Spencer mansion.
Gee, what the fuck? You little bitch, bro.
The locations are a great callback, and I do appreciate seeing them here, but when the entire package is so devoid of character, the maps can't bring it back from feeling uninspired. Now, I'd normally discuss performances, cutscenes and bosses in this section, but they aren't here. The only lines of dialogue are from Wesker when you begin a match, and after 3 games, you've heard all he has to say. Umbrella Corps feels like a game which has been made without any real passion or creative flair. It's a game which does what it sets out to do well enough. The shooting is fun, the movement is fast and fluid, with tons of ways to move around the environment. However, the map design is poor, the game modes are limited, and it lacks any meaningful single player or PvE content. And as such, there is no reason for anybody to buy this game on its release, and especially now. It's a product which is using its Resident Evil background as a namesake, riding off previous success to try and sell a game which no one wanted and no one hung about for. It's not a terrible game, but it's certainly half-baked. It doesn't offer enough for the competitive gamer, and it doesn't give enough back to the RE community to garner goodwill. It's a game that should not be on sale. Anyone that buys this game is doomed to sit in empty lobbies in perpetuity, and all you'll be thinking about is all the other games that you could be spending your time on. And that's it for this review. If you enjoyed the video, put a like on it, and subscribe to the channel for more Resident Evil content. I try to respond to everyone on my channel, so comment your thoughts about the game, and we can discuss it. Up next on the channel is Resident Evil Director's Cut, before I end this series with Resident Evil 2. Now if you still want more from me, then check out my podcast, In PS We Trust. It's a PlayStation podcast where me and my co-hosts crack a few beers and discuss the latest news, rumours and hype for all things PlayStation. I'll have links in the comments below. Thank you for watching. Take care of yourselves, take care of each other. See ya.